It's no secret that decluttering your house saves you money. And with most of the world in the midst of a cost of living crisis, there is no better time to focus on this than right now.
You're listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, bringing you tried and tested, no-nonsense tips and advice from the leading experts in decluttering and organising your home. Now here are your hosts, Ingrid Jansen and Leslie Spellman.
Hello and welcome, listeners. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Leslie.
If you're new to the Declutter Hub podcast, you're so welcome. And if you've been listening in for a while, thank you. We appreciate you being here and listening in week after week. And we just wanted to remind everybody that you can now also watch us on YouTube. So instead of only listening, maybe on a podcast player, you can also go to our YouTube channel and watch there. Or go to the show notes that we create for each podcast, and you will find a link to the YouTube videos in there too. So for example, this is the 200th episode. Just go to declutterhub.com/200 and you can find everything you need there.
Perfect. I feel like people might expect us to be doing like a singing and a dancing show on YouTube. It's really not that exciting, but sometimes it's quite nice to see people's faces rather than just listening. It depends on how you learn. So Ingrid, before we get started with our 200th episode, as if that's a thing, we wanted to highlight our fantastic sponsors, the Clean and Tidy Show. Now, in October this year, Ingrid and I will be joining other cleaning, tidying and decluttering professionals on stage at the Excel in London. So there's going to be 2 days of fantastic motivation, inspiration, all about cleaning, tidying and organising your home. Now, we spoke to Penny at the Clean and Tidy Show and she was super excited that we were celebrating our 200th podcast. She's like, you know what? Let me give you a giveaway. Can you give someone a giveaway? Offer you a giveaway? So she gave us a giveaway. So they've got this fantastic giveaway. If you're free on the 8th or 9th of October this year and you are in London or can be in London, then you can grab a completely free ticket to the show. Now, the way that you're going to do that is by going to our show notes, as Ingrid so nicely said before, declutterhub.com/200. And there you'll be able to sign up for a completely free ticket to the show. And you'll be able to find us, chat to us, because we will have a lovely stand and we will be on stage presenting as well. So if you want a little bit of Ingrid and Leslie at the Clean and Tidy Show, grab a free ticket and come. We would love to see you, and definitely let us know if you're coming so we know to meet you.
I know, I'm so excited about it. How cool is that? The 200th episode, 200 tickets. So thank you, Penny. Thank you, Clean and Tidy Show. So we can offer this. So go to declutterhub.com/200, click on the link and get your free ticket. Grab it before they're gone.
I know, exciting. So yes, 200 episodes. I mean, every time we do one of these like milestone podcasts, it's like, oh my word, I can't believe we're at 100. Oh my word, I can't believe we're at 150. And now, honestly, in the blink of an eye, it seems like we're at 200, doesn't it?
I know. I mean, episode 150 seemed like last month, not last year, Leslie. I mean, how quickly does the time go? And what a roller coaster year have we had, right? I mean, we always have busier and quieter periods. We always have, it's never plain sailing, is it? It's always a bit of a roller coaster, but I feel like I'm on this really scary roller coaster that keeps twisting and turning. And that's how the last year feels like, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. I almost feel like it's been like a year of two halves. And so for most of the world, we were starting to kind of come out of it. I know we're still firmly in the middle of the pandemic, to be fair, but coming out of the kind of lockdown part of it. And people were starting to enjoy themselves a little bit more and go out, go on holiday, do all those nice things, see family, whatever makes you tick. And then all of a sudden, the war in Ukraine came upon us, which is horrific. And then followed very closely by the cost of living crisis, which much of the world is going through at the moment, which is hard, very, very hard and very, very impactful, isn't it?
It's like, it almost seems to feel like a bit like, okay, haven't we had enough yet? Do you have to actually throw another thing at us? It's like, indeed, it was like COVID, and then, all the horrible things that happened, and then the war in Ukraine that's still going on. That's so many people have had that on their minds. And now it's the cost of living crisis, and everybody's struggling, and the energy problems and problems in airports, and we all want to go on a holiday and we can't because we don't even know if we're getting on the plane, and everything is being cancelled, and the energy is just, prices have gone up, and people have to really look at budgeting and stuff like that. It's like, oh, can we just sit here and mooch for a while? Why does it have to be so hard all the time?
Yeah, that's it. It is hard. That's the thing, Ingrid. But having said that, this is our 200th episode. And so we need to try and bring a little bit of positivity, don't we, to this story, because we don't want to be all doom and gloom. So what we thought we would talk about something that's related to the types of things that we've been talking about, which is mainly the cost of living crisis, and talk about how decluttering fits into that. Now, one of the biggest benefits of decluttering that we talk about all the time is saving money. And let's face it, we need to save a little bit of money right now, don't we?
Yeah, and I think, it sounds a bit, I talk about this a lot, because if you talk about decluttering, it's like, yeah, but I want to keep all my stuff, because if I've got my stuff, I know that I have it. So Ingrid, the fact that you then say that I have to declutter, it does not make sense. It doesn't rhyme in my head that if I declutter, I save more money. But we know that this is true. I mean, we've been in the decluttering world for 12 years. It's like we've been here for such a long time. And we know that decluttering saves money. But if you then think that actually I want to get rid of items to save money, how does that work?
Well, it feels counterintuitive, doesn't it, to get rid of things that you perceive to have value. I suppose that's what we're talking about. So people amass this stuff over years, sometimes decades, that's very valuable or has a perceived value to them. And so it's very hard then to pass that value on, to let that value go in principle. So what we're sort of saying in a nutshell is there's more valuable things than stuff. And sometimes you need to let those things that you perceive to be valuable go to enable you to live a more fulfilled, simpler, sustainable life. And so we're going to talk about 5 ways that decluttering saves you money, aren't we?
Yes, and I like it. I know I like saving money. I don't know. I mean, we've talked about the fact that I'm maybe because I'm from Holland, I'm quite frugal or something. I don't know what it is, but I'm always like, yeah, let's save a bit of money. That feels good. That feels good. So I like the fact that we found 5 ways, and we're going to talk about that in this podcast, right?
I'm just thinking about you saying that you really like saving money, and thinking about all the cool things that come our way in the Declutter Hub in terms of new technology and stuff that we can use for our members on our podcast and all that. Not really a saver there, are you, Ingrid? we're always like, oh yeah, that sounds good. Let's buy that. Like, yeah,
but
am I right?
That is true, but it's because we want to give our members that are in our membership like the best experience and have the best tech for them to enjoy. We want everything to be smooth. We want somebody who steps into our world to have a really, really good experience. And I think we save money on the things that are not important, but we do spend money on the things that we think are important. And I think that's the difference.
Absolutely. I'll take it back. So you're being an intentional spender, Ingrid, and we're going to come back to that in a minute.
Yes.
But before we do, let's talk about the first way that decluttering saves you money.
Yes. First, not one of the 5 ways. Use up what you already have. Don't keep buying more and more and more and more. Use all the stuff that's in your cupboards. If you're feeling that credit crunch, if you're thinking, I'm a bit short on cash, I'm a bit tight this month, start to use up what you have. Now, there's loads in your cupboards. Honestly, trust us on that. You have lots of stuff in your pantry, in your food cupboards, in your freezer, under the sink, in products, from cleaning products. You've got toiletries. You've probably got 6 or 8 shampoos that you forgot you had. You've got all this stuff in your cupboards around your house. But because you're in a rhythm of, oh, it's on my list, it's on my shop, I've nearly run out, and you haven't kind of really taken stock of what you have, you kind of buy again and again and again.
And I think it's fair to say that there'll probably be people listening to this podcast saying, I don't have an abundance of stuff in my house, but we're talking in general terms of people that are mass clutter over the years do typically overbuy. So we're not saying this is general. There are some people that are really struggling. Of course there are. But in general, the people that we typically see in our world have got an abundance of the types of things that Ingrid has spoken about: toiletries, food, cleaning products being like the main three, really. And I think that we have to have a good feel for what we've got, don't we? First, we have to almost do an inventory of what we've got, and then starting to use this kind of stuff up almost becomes a little game, doesn't it, Ingrid? And so we do this all the time, don't we, in our memberships? So we have a couple of challenges that we run regularly with our members that have a great impact in terms of working out what you've got and using it up, and people find it super satisfying. So we have an Eat From Your Pantry challenge that we run at least once a year, don't we, where we encourage people to eat from their pantry and make meals from your freezer and your pantry. Of course, you've got to add stuff to it, but in general, really use up what you've got. And there's something very satisfying about cleaning out your cupboards of things that you've had for donkey's years, and finding inventive ways to make that happen. And also we do a Wear Your Wardrobe challenge, and what that allows people to do is to reconnect with the stuff that they're wearing or that they have in their wardrobes, let's say, start to wear it and then think, actually, and it feels like you're wearing something new, doesn't it? Because you've not worn it for a while. So it's almost like that feeling of having something new. And so it gives you that kind of dopamine hit a little bit, doesn't it? So you're finding your pleasure in different things and using what you already have. And I think that's really important when we're trying to save money. But first of all, you've got to get a feel for what you've got. You have to do this inventory. You have to be committed to this, don't you?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, Leslie. And it's very interesting because our members who do the Wear Your Wardrobe challenge also then start to be creative and put other outfits together. So a top or a shirt or a jacket or a trouser gets more wear because there's, oh, actually that fits together with that, and it seems like a new outfit. So that is fantastic. But it's not only food or clothing. There's a lot of money, Leslie, in toiletries and cleaning products, and we don't realize that. But if, for example, I mean, a good bottle of cleaning product can be a couple of pounds, and when you've got 8 or 10 or maybe even 15 in your cupboards in different places around your house, that's a lot of dormant money, and all this stuff can go out of date. You don't want to, if you buy shampoos in bulk, do you want to, still use a shampoo that you bought 8-9 years ago? Because that's the amount that we're talking about. So use up some of this stuff. There's a lot of makeup as well. Very, very costly, all of this. And the thing is, once you start to use up a few bits, you get a far better handle of what you have and what you don't have to buy. And actually, that actually is now run out. I need to buy something. Because if you've got an overflow of stuff everywhere, you kind of go, oh, I don't know, let me buy another one. I'm not completely sure how much I have. And when you do an inventory and you use it up, you actually do have a far better handle on what you have. It's very interesting, actually.
Really interesting, and it's an important process to go through, and it's also one where you almost need to let your standards drop a little bit. So some of the reason why those cleaning products, particularly, or toiletries or something like that, have not seen the light of day, because it didn't quite suit us. So if we are trying to save money, we kind of need to go, well, it's not exactly the brand that I would want, but it's good enough. And once you get to that good enough stage, then you can get the satisfaction, of course, out of using something that's 80% good. Still perfectly fine, but not perfect. And that's the key to this, isn't it?
Right. Well, Leslie, I think we need to move on to the second way of saving money, right? So that is, don't buy things you already have. Now, this seems like a bit of a no-brainer, right? Like, don't buy things you already have. But we see it happening all the time because people who have a lot of stuff end up misplacing items. A very good example that suddenly popped into my head was the podcast that we recorded with Marianne. And she said, I found scissors everywhere. I never used to be able to find scissors. I knew I had them. I had a lot of them. But when I needed one, I couldn't find it because nothing had a place. Nothing was like in a proper place for everything in its place. So I kept on buying and buying and buying the same thing. Now I've actually decluttered. I know where everything is. I put stuff back where things belong. And I found out I had loads of scissors. And that's what we mean with don't buy things you already have, because you can end up buying multiples.
You know, Ingrid, one of the most important stages when it comes to decluttering is having awareness, and having awareness of what you're doing, the habits that are holding you back, the habits that are sabotaging your decluttering efforts is really important. And that knowledge about what you've got and how many duplicates you've got and where you are buying things that you don't need is definitely part of that becoming aware process, isn't it?
Very much so, Leslie. And I think it's also what we see is that when our clients and our members, when they walk around their house and really look, they don't see, they really, really look. And then suddenly it's what we see a lot is when people have a lot of clutter, they start to not see the clutter and the piles and the corners full of stuff and the random items scattered over the floor and on tables and crammed into nooks and crannies. But when you start to really, really look around and kind of go, why is this here? What is happening? That also has to do with awareness, doesn't it? And I think once you start to declutter, you start to pick up on things. And that's what we see in the membership, right? We have members who are decluttering and suddenly seeing a lot more cleaning that's been neglected and things that didn't pick up before, because it's almost like the clutter blinds them a little bit. Yeah, you can really, you hear that throughout our membership.
I wanted to talk about Wednesday wins, Ingrid. So every Wednesday in our Facebook group, we have something called Wednesday wins. And what that means is people share the wins that they have had that week. So if you've never done that, please do go ahead and pop your wins into our Facebook group, because we absolutely love reading them. But one of the wins that comes up regularly on a Wednesday is that people have gone into a shop, looked at something, almost had it at the point of checking out with that, and then changed their mind because they know that that's sabotaging their decluttering journey. So they've changed. So it shows me that there's a real mindset change happening. So this is what this is all about. Don't buy things you already have. And when you get into that point where you're stopping yourself from these habits that are causing you problems, that's when you can see that real mindset shift. That's what we love. And obviously it will save you money as well, which is what we're talking about today.
Yes, and that leads us nicely into number 3, Leslie, a third way to save money, and that is to shop intentionally. So not just randomly going to the shops and picking up a couple of bits, whether it's grocery shopping, going to a clothes store because you're always on a Friday going into a shop and thinking, oh, let me just browse. And then before you know it, you've got a basket full of items that you weren't even planning on buying. And that, I think, is the follow-up as well, because all that random spending really adds up.
I think we're definitely going on a kind of, it's going up. So we started off, didn't we, Ingrid, with, use what you already have, and then don't buy duplicates. And now we're going into it intentional. It's all part of this mindset shift, isn't it? And we get to a point here where we shop intentionally. So we don't, as you say, we don't buy things that we don't need. We look at things that are going to enhance our lives. And the reason why we get to that point where we do intentionally shop is because we have gone on this decluttering journey. We have loved the simplicity. We have loved the idea and the practicalities and the result of having less. Our family have loved that as well. It's affecting our relationships in a positive way. It's affecting our own well-being. And we don't want to then go backwards and start buying more stuff. And so when we do go shopping, we only go shopping for those things that we truly need. And so intentional shopping is really, really important. And of course, when you shop intentionally, in principle, then you're going to save money, because it's those throwaway items that we're talking about that you buy when you're in the habit of buying excessive things. That's where the money starts to hemorrhage out. Yeah. And so by decluttering, by going through this journey, by going through this mindset change, you absolutely can save money. We see it. It's one of the biggest benefits of decluttering that we see. And it's one that people see the clutter, don't they, Ingrid, and say, I want the house to be tidy, I want it to be neat, I want it to be more organized. But it's these side benefits that we see that really, really make a difference.
You know what? A perfect example is our lovely member Sue, who met up with her friends for a coffee, and she was just having a lovely chat. And then one of her friends suggested, shall we just do a little browse around the shops? And she said, I really was like, no, let's just please stay here and chat and have coffee. And that's what is so important, connecting with friends again after all the pandemic and everything. But then they decided, and as a group, let's do a little bit of browsing. And she said, in the past, I would have always then succumbed to, oh, let me buy this, let me buy that. Oh, I fancy this. My eye catches that. And she said, I was so proud of myself because I didn't buy anything at all. Well, everybody, my friends who are so used to me always then buying things and putting things in my basket were like, oh, wow.
You're feeling all right. It's feeling all right, Sue.
Yeah.
What's why you're not buying anything? What's wrong? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the thing.
So I think that I really loved that. And I thought, wow, that is such a fantastic shift of breaking those habits that we always talk about. Just a wonderful example. So well done, Sue. A big thumbs up.
Definitely. Now, I think a lot of people, when we started this podcast talking about the 5 ways to save money by decluttering, I bet you that a lot of people immediately thought of, well, you can sell your stuff on eBay, didn't they? Yeah, like, well, that's the way you save money by decluttering, because you sell your stuff on eBay and you get money for it. Now, Ingrid and I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship when it comes to selling things, because we're going to put a little caveat in here. So we truly believe that decluttering should be your primary aim, and you need to try and get to that goal. And sometimes selling your stuff creates a barrier that stops you from achieving your decluttering goals, because you're so fixated on selling the stuff and getting money for it that you don't focus on the decluttering. Or the alternative is, when you do sell your stuff, you're so disheartened by the meager amounts of money that you get for that stuff that you feel quite negative about the whole process. So by mixing the two things together can be quite dangerous. But nevertheless, we know that if you are decluttering your house, you will have stuff, some of which will be valuable, some of which will be saleable. And so you can undoubtedly go onto eBay, go onto Vinted, go onto Amazon Marketplace, many other outlets to sell your stuff and make some money from it. It's very important that you know that you've got the tools to do that, that you've got the motivation, the time, the knowledge, the expertise, the patience, the ability to deal with disappointment when people don't come and collect things or don't pay you or whatever. So it's quite a tough ask for a lot of people. So we really want you to think about whether or not that needs to form part of your decluttering journey. But if it does, then go for it and reap the rewards of it. And that's a way that you can recoup some of the money that you have spent in the past.
Yeah, we had a great example from that in the Facebook group, didn't we? Just only recently, when somebody, it was Suzanne who said, I've sold $80 worth of stuff. I think it was on Vinted, because she said I had wardrobes full of stuff, of clothing that I never worn anymore. And she said, I've been just giving it a go, and I've now made a rail of items, and I've photographed them, and I've put them all on, and I've actually made some money. And I'm getting my wardrobes down from 3 wardrobes full of stuff that I've got no idea to a wardrobe and a half with stuff that I actually like and wear and use and love and get more outfits of. So fantastic. I mean, go Suzanne. So if you need to sell, have a plan, make a process. Make a little list for yourself. Okay, to make this happen, what do I need to do? Snap a picture, decide on a price. How does the selling site work? How am I going to post it? All of those things that are involved. But if that's you, if you're thinking, okay, Ingrid and Leslie, I am on board with your whole decluttering, but I need to save money and I also need to make some money, then go for the selling, but do it in an organized way, because then you will hopefully recoup a little bit of the items and get a little pocket money to help.
Absolutely. Now, the last one that we wanted to talk about in terms of how you can save money when you're decluttering your house was to talk about storage units, and also a little add-on. I'm going to talk about downsizing as well, which seems a little bit strange, but bear with me. So some of us, if we have an excess of stuff, will have veered into renting a storage unit. So we're not big fans of storage units, obviously, because we feel that you should have the things in your home around you to enjoy, to love, that you need and use. And if they're tucked away in a storage unit, then you can't really do those things. Now, there are, of course, examples of times when you do need a storage unit. They do fulfill a purpose. But if it's just an overflow from your house and it's costing you a lot of money, then we need to do our utmost to try and decrease the size of that storage unit or get rid of it completely. Yeah. There was an example this week from somebody who had said they were so proud of themselves because they were gradually decreasing the size of their storage unit. So they've not quite got there yet. Their aim was to get rid of the storage unit completely, but they had gone to a smaller unit. So do think about that in terms of saving money as well. And I also wanted to talk about a kind of storage unit in your house. Now, what I mean by that is we go to homes all the time that are chocker with clutter, okay? So they're full to the brim in certain rooms with lots of clutter. So certain rooms of the house are unusable because they are full of boxes. And what we see quite regularly is people that really want to downsize to a smaller place, because what's happened is that those boxes have gone into rooms that maybe your children were in before or something like that, and you needed a 3 or 4 bedroom house. Now you're on your own, or there's just you and your partner, and you no longer need the size of property, but you feel as if you can't move because you've got so much stuff. And how on earth are you going to move with all this stuff? And so it creates a barrier. So what you do is you stop yourself from being able to downsize and hopefully recoup some money in that downsizing process. I know that's not always the case, but recoup some money in that downsizing process, and have almost the rooms in your house are becoming a storage unit that you're paying for in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Ingrid?
You know what? Stuff can really hold people from making the steps they want to take. And this really reminds me of when I talked to Matt Paxton on the podcast a couple of months ago. And he also was talking about how the stuff and all the memorabilia mainly almost holds people hostage in their house because there's so much to deal with. And then they don't want to take the steps. Same when I talked to Charles Tinsley about antiques and collectibles. He also said, people have houses full of stuff, and because they don't want to make decisions on it, they're not moving on, and they end up in houses that are far too cumbersome, too labor intensive, too big to maintain and to keep track of and to hold. And it's really makes people stuck, and it's such a shame. So I think it's really important that we talk about that, Leslie.
So 5 ways in which you can save money by decluttering, Ingrid. And, while I've been sitting here, I've been thinking about more. I was thinking about Marianne a couple of weeks ago on the podcast and how productive and I'm sure more profitable her business is as a result of having gone through that process of changing things up, finding all the scissors and putting them together. I'm sure that would have been buying things that she didn't need all the time. So there's that side of things with business owners as well, where they're going to save money. But we could go on because we feel quite passionate about the saving money side of decluttering, because it's not something that people typically think about, is it, Ingrid? Now, it's tough times at the moment, isn't it? As we talked about right at the beginning, we've got the cost of living crisis, and what we're seeing, certainly what I'm seeing in my Clutter Fairy business is that people are pulling back on paying for decluttering services, whether that's one-to-one in my Clutter Fairy business or whether that's in our membership, because it seems as if it's additional money, doesn't it? So you pay for someone to help you declutter your house, or you pay in our membership to come and be taught how to do it yourself. And you just think, oh, actually, that's money that I need to save. And we just want you to think about it in a slightly different way. I mean, obviously, it's our membership, that's our business, and we're here to try and encourage you to come into our membership. But we do it with good reason, don't we, Ingrid? Because we really know that if you want to save money, decluttering is one of the best ways to do it. And you need to do it in a very focused, organized, strategic way. And that is what we teach in our membership, isn't it?
Yes. And I think when you talked about Marianne, my mind went back to our lovely member, Emma, who we had on the podcast as well, who I think saved about £400 or £500 on her bills about being more organized and more, because we've got 3 amazing courses about how to tackle paperwork and how to set up a filing system. And it's like, wow, she said, I've saved so much money because I'm more organized with my paperwork. I don't have to pay late fees. I can actually, before my policy renews, I actually do a price comparison instead of thinking, yeah, that's something I need to do at some point. She said, I'm there now. I'm being more organized and I'm doing it. So she said, being in a membership has paid over so many times because I've saved so much money doing this.
I think it's quite interesting, because when you think, it's very hard, isn't it, to kind of think about what a decluttering membership is all about, isn't it? But really, it's so much more than decluttering. It's almost like a lifestyle change, isn't it? And so people that have been with us a while, 6 months, 12 months, are kind of doing no spend months on a regular basis and documenting that no spend month and how they're saving. They're posting things about refurbishments that they're doing, and people are putting money saving tips in. Why don't you try and do it like this and don't waste any money on that? Or a lot of people ask me, don't they, because I do a lot with design, and like, don't waste your money on that kind of thing, do this. And those are the kind of things that we do. So it's just to kind of, it's something that, as I say, it's hard for us to explain this because this is our business. And of course we want to get more members in, of course we do, but we want it because we know that it's good for you, don't we? Yeah. And it kind of upsets us that people see that as a short-term thing when actually it's a long-term solution, isn't it? So you sort of almost speculate to accumulate type scenario, isn't it?
It's interesting, Leslie, because we are, of course, declutterers and organizers, but in the meantime, we're like trying to be kind of eco warriors as well, because we want to think our members to think about the environment. And then we also try to really kind of go, but you're going to save money. We look at the finance side as well. So because you can do so much when you change your mindset and your habits when you're decluttering, and we see it, that's why we had, we were so lucky to have Tom Watson on the podcast, who also said, because of the decluttering, I got more organized, and that helped me to lose the weight. I mean, we've had tremendous guests on our podcast in the last year. We haven't even spoken about that, Leslie. I mean,
I know.
But we've been talking about Charles and Matt and Tom. I mean, so many amazing podcast guests and our members as well, because they see the benefits of decluttering. And I think when we're all feeling the pinch, it's easy to go, well, I'm just going to have to focus on everything that I cannot buy. But we're like, I think you need to look at it from the other way around. You're going to save by coming into the membership and joining us and seeing all the wonderful things that can happen. So yes, if you'd like to know more about the membership, book a discovery call with me. I would love to talk you through and show you behind the scenes what our membership is all about. We've got so much cool stuff, and we now have twice weekly success sessions where our members declutter together. I mean, it's great fun as well. So if you're like, I want to save money, I want to check out this membership, let me know. Go to declutterhub.com/discovery and you can talk to me, and I would love it.
I know. Is it just because you love talking to people, Ingrid?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Do you actually talk about the membership at all, or do you just generally just have a nice little chit chat with people? I'd love to be on a discovery call to see it. Next time you do a discovery call, you can record it so I can actually see and evaluate what it is that you do on them. So
yeah, I do love talking to people. I do love talking to people.
I know. So unsurprisingly, I like talking to people as well.
Yes,
it's just that you like it more, and so you get all the nice things like talking to members, and I have to do all the technology. Anyway.
I know. I've outsourced the right thing to you, Leslie.
Exactly. So before we go, I wanted to say to my lovely business partner, congratulations on 200 podcasts. Now, Ingrid does a lot of the hard work when it comes to the podcasts. I know that I do technology, as I said, but she does do a lot of the work when it comes to podcasts. So well done, Ingrid, for getting 200 podcasts out there.
It sometimes seems a bit easier than it is, Leslie. There's quite a lot going on. Do you know that swan that's on the water, but under the water you see the paddling going on? That's me every once in a while, because getting a weekly podcast out is no mean feat, let me tell you, but we love it, don't we? So yes, let's go onwards and upwards, Leslie, to 250 podcasts, because we're going to be there before we know it. So yes, onwards and upwards, Leslie. 250 podcasts are coming. We're here to stay. People are like, have you really got something different to talk about every week? Yes.
Yeah.
We already have plans for the next 20 podcasts. Believe you me, we have not finished talking, have we? So yeah, here we go. 200 podcast.
I know, it's exciting. It's exciting. So, so well done, everybody, and well done, and thank you, everybody, for listening. Because honestly, if we didn't have so many lovely listeners that are commenting every week, that are coming, turning up, and enjoying the podcast and making good progress, then we wouldn't be here. So, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
Just a final quick reminder: don't forget to grab your ticket for the Clean and Tidy Show. Go to declutterhub.com/200 and come and see us in the flesh. I think people might be disappointed in the flesh. What do you think? They were like, oh, they look so different. They look so different on Zoom. Yeah, we'll see. Honestly, we're exactly the same wherever we go. So whether we're on stage at the Excel or whether we're doing this podcast on Zoom,
I know. Maybe, Leslie, maybe this is a good point as well, to tell everybody. I actually ran into somebody that I did not know, but she knew me. So one of our members, I went to a show called ABBA Voyage here in London. And while I was getting ready before the show was getting started, I heard Ingrid, and I went, yes. And I thought, oh, this lady kind of looks familiar, but because we don't see our members a lot, only on a tiny Zoom screen. And she went, it's me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you're like one of our members. So we get recognized now. So I was like, oh my gosh, do I look okay?
You're famous now. You're definitely a Z-list celebrity though, Ingrid, aren't you? I don't think the Daily Mail are coming for you anytime soon.
Maybe that's a good thing, Leslie. I don't want anyone snapping me in my shorts when I put my bins out. That has to be done. Yeah. In my pajamas in the morning. Oh, forgot the bins.
Oh dear. Ingrid would love nothing more than being in a celebrity magazine. That would make her life, wouldn't it, Ingrid?
I don't know, Leslie. I don't know if I could deal with like the pressure that real celebrities have of being snapped with photo lenses from 3 miles afar. Anyway, we're digressing as per usual. I'm going to tell you what next week's podcast is, and it's all about perfectionism and if perfectionism is stopping you in your decluttering tracks. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to 200 podcasts. I mean, you guys rock. Thanks so much for listening in. We appreciate you so much. Snap up your tickets on declutterhub.com/200, and we'll be here next week. Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much for listening to the Declutter Hub podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us in your podcast player so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.